Thank you, Sid. I know that's frustrating and trying to get this stuff to work. So thank you, planning board members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you tonight about the Sultan School District Capital Facilities Plan. I want to let you know that although I would like to say that I've done this all on my own, I haven't. They're very technical plans. And so Denise Stiffarm, who's an attorney with Pacifica Law, represents most school districts in Snohomish County and helps us with the technical aspects of it, because while we, often try to oversimplify how these things are calculated, they're actually very complicated. And so also want to apologize in advance to any slides that have a lot of verbiage on them. It's not always possible to explain how a fee went up or down without leaving a pretty lengthy paragraph. Leaving something out can be critical to making sure it works. So with that said, I'll go ahead and if you can go to the next slide, I'll go ahead and get started. So there's several things I want to cover tonight. The main purpose is to recommend that you accept the 24 through 29 plan, but I want to build some background around that, explain some of the things currently happening in the district, give you some history of what's happened here, common questions that we've tried to answer, and give you the opportunity to ask any more that might come up, and talk about how we update the process and when that all starts. Go ahead, next slide. So the primary purpose of a capital facilities plan is really twofold. It's planned for new student enrollment growth in school districts like ours or others, and to provide a basis for securing impact fees from new residential development. I'm going to talk a little bit as we get into this about student generation rates, because that's key. You can have a large development, but low student generation rates, and that's going to impact where the fee is set. And that's why you see some of the fluctuations in the fees as time goes on. Some facts to keep in mind when we're talking about this: to be eligible to request impact fees, the district needs to do three things. Demonstrate expected enrollment growth. That's the key number one. And when I get to an enrollment sheet up here later, that'll help explain why we didn't have many collections at certain points. Two, have a lack of capacity to serve students or the expected growth, meaning we don't have any room. Or three, and have a plan developed that would be able to house those students that are unhoused, whether it be portable classrooms or the bond we just had on the ballot, or some other plan to fulfill that. By law, impact fees cannot be the sole source of capacity funding. There must be other sources. I use an example of the Snohomish County Council, where I said, we have the second highest fee in Snohomish County behind only North Shore. And so when you take $14,000, which is a rounded number, multiply it by 500 homes, you only generate $7 million, which is a lot of money. But when you put it up against a $70 million project, it's really not that much. But it does help take some of the cost down. Impact fee is specific to the impact per dwelling unit and can't be more. So the proposed number in the 24 to 29 plan went down $800 to $14,002. I'll explain why it went down, but we can't charge $1 more than that per unit for a single family residence. District fees are high because there's demonstrated student generation at all three levels, meaning they take a sample from the homes that are out there, and it's showing high student growth in those, and that hasn't always been the case. And we have a 10-year limit to spend the money, and in the event that you don't spend it in that 10-year amount of time, there's a chance you might have to give it back. But those are just some of the background things. Next slide. Process for updating the capital facilities plan. We update them every 2 years. And so for this current cycle, 24-29, about a year into it, or December of 2023, we have our initial discussion. And that usually is between myself, our director of operations, and Denise Stiffarm, who is the attorney that represents school districts that are putting these plans together. January through April, we input the factors, student generation calculation, space needs, citizen facility advisory recommended projects, or lack of projects, we put those assumptions and those factors into the plan, and then we do a recalculation. And I guess worst case scenario would be is if there's not any student growth, we wouldn't request any kind of an increase in fees. Updated factors are sent to, are integrated into the plan, and we have to have that plan to Snohomish County by April 30th. The Planning Commission in Snohomish County, planning board there, not board, but the planning department comments on it or asks for clarifying questions, sends it back to us. We regroup. If we don't understand what they're asking, we contact them and try to get clarification. There's some back and forth until the plan is clear of what we're trying to do, and they've signed off on it, and then we send draft 2 to them by June. The school board of directors must pass the plan by August if it's going to go into effect the following January. Our board approved this plan after a couple of different looks at it and conversation and looking at all the work that was done by Snohomish County, et cetera, on July 22nd of this past summer. Next slide. History of capital facility plans. We've had them in place for at least the last 24 years. Some years have been fairly light collections based on what the formula was. We had a few years when we get to the impact fee history, I'll show you where we didn't collect any, and you can see the declining enrollment that was happening at that time. We updated every 2 years to capture the changes, and that's one of the real good things about that is if you're collecting a lot and you don't need to be anymore because growth has stopped, then your impact fee will likely adjust downward or vice versa. The Citizen Facility Advisory Committee, which is a committee that was formed back in 2018, the latest iteration of it, by application, has worked with the school district to take a look at all things that are capital facilities, how they're funded, the construction history, how preventative maintenance works, what it costs to do certain things. And from that, they came up with a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 facilities plan. 4 impact fees have been used to buy portable classrooms, portable restrooms, land, and other items related to adding space for unhoused students. Factors that increased impact fees dramatically in the last 2 cycles. I'll show you what those are. Next slide. So this particular slide right here gives a 2002 through 2024 look at impact fees. You'll notice that we're in the far right column. We collect the second highest impact fee rate, next only to North Shore. And I guess some people look at that as positive. Some would look at it as negative. I've always tried to use the factors within the framework of the law to collect as much as possible, because that's really the only recourse our community has to offset the cost of trying to house students. You know that the last bond didn't go through. And so as we look to house and have adequate space for students, we'll be recommending purchase more portables. And so that's the other part of the plan. But the idea is to collect a high impact fee so that it makes it less for the taxpayer. And you'll have that so you can look at it and see where it is. One of the phases that raised the last 2 cycles, this is just one input factor that raised the impact fee up to 14,800 and most recently 14,200, is $250 million in construction during those past few years. We've collected impact fees through that whole time there, but you can see that it wasn't until from basically 2021 to 2025 that it was really arcing upward. And so that's where the $250 million came into play. Next slide. And I don't know if you can't see that last column, but this is our enrollment patterns. This also coincides for the most part to student generation in the construction projects that are out there. If you look at the left side of that, 2009 all the way through 2014, we were losing an average of 48 students a year. And so that wasn't a period of time, even if there's building going on, where we can legally even collect impact fees. of much because you're not generating any students. And then it started to recover in 2015. You can see where COVID is in 2020, 21. And as of late, it's pretty robust, meaning that if you look at 24, 25, we're at 2030. I received a document the other day from ESD 189, which is the Educational Service District in the Northwest Washington. It's Snohomish County, Skagit County, Whatcom County, and Island County, big districts and small, and our district was growing the fastest. Between 2023, October 1st, 2023, and October 1st, 2024, we had grown by 4.82%. And you know, so in a bigger district, obviously that's a lot more kids than us, but our percentage of growth was higher than any of them, and we see it and feel it. So this is factor number 2 that went into that. And next slide. And this is the third part. There's a spot in the capital facilities plan where there's projects, and the Community Facility Advisory Committee advised phases of plans that had projects at all 3 levels, K-5, 6-8, 9-12, and portables and the purchase of land. And so when you add those factors into it and the development of that land for the schools, it is a factor that helps increase the impact fees. Next slide. So this plan that we're bringing before you today was passed by the school board on July 22nd, 2024. Ironically, the Snohomish County Council passed it 5-0 yesterday afternoon. And so we're humbly asking for your approval of the plan. Next slide. So these were some questions that came up, and this is one of the slides that's got a lot of information on it, and I apologize. It's got a lot of words, but there's no way really to get around it. Why did the single family impact fees drop? And so you can go ahead and read that. Dropped by $800. This, from what I'm told, caught some people's attention, and there's really several factors that are all outlined in there. One of the things that happened is the SCAP money went up. SCAP is a school construction assistance program. That went up. The tax credit went up. Okay. And when you read down below, you can see in the bottom part of the paragraph, all the different factors. And when those things go up, the impact fee tends to go down. But because the student generation rate was pretty robust, it offset that calculation. And that's why it came up with only, down $800. Without the student generation rates, it likely would have dropped more. So all of those input factors into that is how we came up with that number. It's, although I wish I had some control over this, I really have none. I have to go get accurate information. We report the information. Denise Stiffarm, who's here, works with us to calculate the information. And that's how the fee is generated. Second one, why, go ahead and go to the next slide, Hal.
Correct.
Yes.
I apologize. Pardon my ignorance. The state construction assistance program, could you elaborate on that, clarify?
Yeah, the state construction assistance program is buildings are 30-year buildings. And so the state offers matching money to replace them after 30 years. Okay, and so it is based on the instructional space. And so like Sultan High School, for example, qualifies for about 12 million. Gold Bar Elementary, ironically, which is one of our newer schools, qualifies for about 8 million. The school most in need, Sultan Elementary School, doesn't qualify really for very much at all. And the reason for that is in 1998, they did a really small project that started the clock on the 30-year school. And it was some asbestos removal and some different things. In 2001, which is kind of what kicks off the deal, the school board accepted the plan through a board meeting. That started the clock. So Sultan Elementary doesn't qualify for matching money until 2031. But I think positive news. I was just in Spokane with school board members, and the state knows that there's a challenge in many communities trying to have schools that work, schools that can serve, and the burden it is on the community to try to pay for them. And so they are this year, and I was actually with Gigi in one session on this. I'm going to suggest or predict that you'll see the SCAP matching money start to go up to make it a little bit easier, because I don't know what else to do. I fully understand it's a burden on a community. I just don't have answers. You know, we've got to come. So the SCAP is School Construction Assistance Program that's by the state. And, you know, ironically, Gold Bar's was accepted in 1993 by the board as a 20-year school, because they were right in the transition from a 20-year school to a 30-year school. And it's our nicest facility. So it's unfortunate the way it is, but that's the way it is. In 2026, the middle school will be mostly eligible. So did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Dan, this is Denise online. Do you mind if I add to your explanation?
Please do, Denise.
Sure. Okay. So this is Denise Stipparm with Pacifica Law Group. Dan referenced me being here earlier. Importantly and relevant to this capital facilities plan, the School Construction Assistance Program also provides funding for new school buildings. And so in the district's capital facilities plan, in addition to Gold Bar Elementary qualifying for those SCAP funds, the planned new elementary school and planned new high school projects also qualify. So there is the credit at both the elementary and the high school level. And just to follow up on what is different in 2024 versus 2022, in the last legislative session, the state legislature recognized that historically they have underfunded school construction. And so they took a large step to increase the cost per square foot that school districts are eligible to receive in those matching funds. So that increase alone is noticeable in this capital facilities plan. There is a difference of about, when we look at one single family fee, there's a difference, an increase of about $1,600 in SCAP funding from 2022 to 2024. And while the legislative action this year was somewhat historic, I am hoping that in what Dan heard at WASDA recently is accurate, that the state will continue on that course of lifting those SCAP funds. But I just wanted to provide that further clarification, because I think this really is a key component of the small drop in the single family fee.
Thank you, Denise. And I appreciate that's complicated, and she does this well. So I appreciate that. The other big question was on why did the multifamily impact fee drop? I assure you, there's no plan with the city to bring apartments in. The issue in a nutshell is we don't have any to take a sample in our district. So the sample comes from Snohomish County, and there was a drop in some of the groups of students. We can't collect them based on what might happen. And so is that correct, Denise?
Yes, that is accurate.
Yeah. So while the comprehensive plan has outlined a plan through 2044, we're simply responding to what is right now. And if we had some samples within the district, they haven't built any apartments since I've been here, and I've been here a long time. There's been talk of it occasionally, but they haven't. And so to get a sample of what is happening to student groups, and there was a decrease in enrollment in Snohomish County living in multifamily, and that's why the decrease. So hopefully that makes sense. Next slide. And then a question on how much did we pay for the property and was it included in the plan? We paid $455,000 for a little over 49 acres, or about $9,200 an acre. And so as far as a cost, this doesn't do much to an impact fee because it was such a good deal. One of the things, and I think I learned this from Denise without mentioning a district, another district bought I think about 4.5 acres paid over 800,000. So they paid about 200,000 per acre. That would have a much greater impact on raising the impact fee than our 9,200 per acre. And so that's where that is. That's what happened with that property. And that'll be an asset for the community, regardless of what the community and school district decide to do with it. And then some final questions. What, as far as planning between the school district and the city, our commitment is to work and coordinate with the city. Informing one another on the key priorities annually over a 20-year planning horizon to 2044. I'm sure the school district commits to that, whether I'm part of the district or Gigi's part of the board or Marianne's part of the board or not. This helps both jurisdictions plan for street improvements, sidewalk improvements, future trail improvements, arterial investments, and coordinating with transit in the future. An informed and coordinated planning can strengthen our capital facilities applications in very competitive arena when school districts and cities in many different counties and communities are competing for the same dollars. So, and I think I would just close by saying, I'm accountable to the school board. I'm accountable to the community. If anybody has a question on these, call me. I get no calls. I will answer them, and I should be expected to answer them. And if I don't know the answer, I will get the answer. Sometimes I'm directed towards Facebook, and I'll be honest with you. I don't want to go to Facebook to answer questions. It's not a healthy place. So if people have questions, I need to be accountable to answer those. And if I don't have an answer, I'll get one. With that, does anybody have any questions?
I think one question that I have is the impact history 2002. Can you hear me now? On. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Now? Yeah? You want me to use a different microphone? Yeah. Okay. Is that better?
Yes, that is better.
So we see the zero impact fee calculation from 2010 till 2014. In the spreadsheet on page 8, we're seeing there is numbers there. You have 1,852 children in 2009, 2010, and then they start to drop in 10 and 11. I'm very curious as to why the school wasn't allowed to collect any impact fees at all, especially in 09 and 10. I would like to see history before that, where the numbers were at, just to prove the point of why there's zero impact fees collected during those 3 years. That is a stress on the community, and that is a stress on the taxpayers, and that is money that could have been collected to go towards needs now.
So at that period of time, you had 6 years to spend it. Okay, it changed to 10 years, I think, in 2017 or 2018, because for a small system, that was difficult. I was personally against collecting impact fees during that time. And the reason is, if I remember the budgeting in the city, is they had 1 to 5 permits per year. The goal for me as the superintendent, unless directed by the board in collecting impact fees, is not to go find a single homeowner and collect an impact fee from him and 4 other homeowners. That won't buy a door for a school, but it will impact the builder. And I don't get a chance to treat them any differently. Okay, so I don't know if we were offline completely then, but I know that we weren't collecting them for those years, and I'll take full responsibility for that. While I appreciate what you're saying as far as the community, I think the amount of money you're talking about at that period of time, if you went to, what was it?
So I'll just say, and I get the point you're saying that it's maybe dollars to dollars, but I'm a business owner as well, and I have the mindset of every dollar counts. So when we're talking about community money and taxpayer money, I think many community taxpayers would say all of those fees count towards something, no matter how small they are.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Do I have any other questions? Yeah,
Or
okay.
reading. So on page 23 in the document that was sent to us, it says the Gold Bar Elementary School addition is not included in the impact fee calculations, but is a growth related project. Could you guys, explain why we're not calculating?
Denise, did you hear that question?
Yes, I did. So the district has two elementary capacity projects that are eligible for impact fees. So the two growth-related projects. One is the Gold Bar Elementary project, and the second is the new elementary project. We chose the new elementary project because it is a higher cost project and more representative of the cost per dwelling unit versus the smaller Gold Bar addition. They both calculate out to a per dwelling unit fee, but by using the new elementary school project, which is a comprehensive school project versus an addition, it gets a higher per impact fee for that elementary capacity.
You. One other question I did have was within the document as well. It says following construction of the new Sultan High School and the addition at the existing Sultan High School, allowing for conversion to the new Sultan Junior High School, the Sultan Middle School facility is anticipated to be used for alternative learning program space, as well as other district program needs. So when I read that, and I hear about building new schools, to me, it sounds like that middle school is only going to be used if needed, as needed. And then as a taxpayer, I'm thinking, well, why are we adding more schools if that middle school might just be used for alternative learning program space?
Denise, do you recall the detail on that?
My recollection on that is the district has a need for that alternative learning space. And so by constructing the new schools and doing that programmatic reconfiguration, it is addressing both capacity needed to serve new growth, but also programmatic needs within the system.
Repurposing. One of the reasons why we don't have a more robust alternative learning programs, we don't have any space. And, you know, we have SVA, Sultan Virtual Academy, SVO, which is a high school up at the high school, but we don't have any space to do a parent partnership kind of a program, which there's desire to have.
Do we have any other questions? We do have another question.
I the only one. So with the portable classrooms that are being used as interim classroom spaces, it's in the document that there's 40 portables right now within the district. Or 50, sorry. Are all 50 of them being used to capacity? Are they all being used as classrooms? Are any of them not being used?
So good question. When a school outgrows its capacity, right now at Sultan Elementary School, we have 705 kids. In a school, it's 416. Not every portable space is used as a self-contained classroom. I had mentioned the Rajneesh portable. Well, we're not going to put a classroom in there, but we do some things with high school kids that are on the elementary campus that are learning, you know, they're going through Snow Isle. We have physical therapy in one of the classes. So they're used for a variety of different things, computer labs, self-contained classrooms. But I would offer the board a tour of all of them. I can show you every single portable and what its use is.
And then My other question with that is, with those portables, if a new school is built in the future, what would happen with those portables? Would the school get any funds back on the portables? What's the funding for that?
Good question. We would try to get some money back, but just as an example, Bellevue School District, which has, had declining enrollment, as part of our inquiry to get a new portables to buy one of theirs if the price is right. So there is ways to get some money back, and we would certainly try to do that. And there would be some that would just be demoed because their age is so old that it would just find that end.
Mr. Chair. I think at this point, it's probably time for us to open it up to the public. And then if the planning board has additional questions, we can do that afterwards. But we want to make sure the public has time.
Absolutely. At this time, we would open the floor, public comments or questions.
Hands up.
Anybody raising their hand?
Sorry, Chair Tyler.
The chair recognizes Tyler.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to verify that there was no comments that were delivered either via email or some other form of contact to the city based upon this plan that would be written into the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
There were no public comments via email, written, or dropped off at the city for the public hearing.
Whitney, do you have any more questions?
No, I don't think so. I think that the district did a good job of explaining why the impact fees are dropping. I know that's been a big topic of conversation for public, and obviously we are here to support our public and look at the comprehensive plan in detail. Although I think a lot of us taxpayers are discouraged that that impact fee is dropping. There's numbers to support that and information to support that. The impact fee was something I was going to ask about, but I feel like there's sufficient information in the presentation supports the drop in impact.
And certainly if you have any follow-up questions, email, call, however you want to get the question, if I don't have an answer, I'll get you an answer.
Thank you, Dan. I think your job is made difficult by the legislature's twisting, turning regulations. Concerns that maybe, I know their intention is to make it a more fair system and to equalize it for all the communities. But I sometimes wonder if all the rules add so much administrative costs that it offsets the savings. That's just a personal comment.
Yeah, no, but certainly a complicated issue, and I appreciate the mindfulness of the community because I think that's a big deal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I think that was a good presentation.